I'm not saying that I'm the best at coping with difficult situations, but in all fairness, everything that I'm going to be talking about today has come from other people, so that will probably make it more valuable than if it came from me alone. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Leigh Monet, and I wanted to talk to you today about a few things that are helping me right now that I think could be very helpful for you as well. This is April of 2020. If you are watching this anytime close to April of 2020, either around the time that I'm releasing this or sometime close to that, you know what's going on. I don't need to go into any detail at all. You know what is happening. You know that everything has been turned upside down, that our lives, for most of us, our lives have been thrown completely off course. And if you had plans and goals and things in mind for this year, most of them have probably been blown to bits because of everything that's happened. Many of us are under some kind of house arrest, self-isolation, shelter in place, those types of things, orders from the government or from people in charge, whatever, people are over you. We've had to change our lives. We have just had to so thoroughly change our lives, and things that were working before this point may not be working anymore. And I know I found that with myself, that I have found myself breaking down in some ways as far as, things that I was able to do before, I can't do now. As an example, I could go to the gym before all of this started, and then it got to a point where the gym is now closed, and so I can't do that anymore. And I was able to do things at the gym that I can't do at home or outside, and it's made it more challenging for me as far as physical activity. I was doing really good with going to the gym and doing things like high intensity interval training, which is more challenging to do outside of the gym. I just like going there and using a machine for that. Now I can't do that. And so I have found myself slacking off on some things, or just finding that there are things in my life that just aren't working as well. Sometimes I'm just finding things to be a challenge that I wasn't before. Not to say that things weren't challenging for me before, because some of them were. But if this will help, there are 5 tactics that I have recently learned from other people or have seen other people doing that I've incorporated to some degree or another into my life, which have helped me with this whole upending of all of our routines and everything that was normal about life. And these might help you. Point number 1 is I am trying to hold myself accountable. And I mentioned the gym before. Physical activity is a perfect example of this. When the gym closed, I lost one of the places that I've been going to for my physical activity. And of course, there are so many different things you can do at a gym, which is great, but when you don't have that available to you, what I have found myself doing, maybe not everybody's like this, but what I have found myself doing is just falling back on the same thing. And even when I go to a gym, I can do this. But I'm finding myself, I'm going outside and going for a walk. There's a neighborhood near us. We are not under any orders that we can't leave our house except for totally essential things. So we can still go out and walk. And I go to this neighborhood and I walk, and that's great. However, I find myself getting into a rut, doing the same things over and over and not doing different things. And I really want to add more variety because I know physically I need it. I have probably put some weight on. So I am looking for ways to hold myself accountable and to sort of push myself. I was thinking about maybe doing a challenge or something like that. And then I got an email from a blogger that I follow. I get her weekly newsletter, and she was talking in this email, and this was sent maybe around 2 weeks ago or so, that she was saying about 100 days. And the day that she was sending out that newsletter, 100 days before then had been December 29th of 2019. And she was remarking on how thoroughly and completely things had changed in that 100 days. In December of 2019, most of us, at least here in the United States especially, we had no idea what was going to be happening. It was right in that holiday time, and things were so different. And so she was thinking about 100 days and what 100 days can do and how different things can be over the course of 100 days, even though it doesn't seem like a terribly long amount of time. And she sent out with that email a printable, and it was a 100-day goal tracker. And it was just a simple little printable that she created that I printed off. And I decided to do a 100-day goal of some kind of movement other than just walking. So it could be 10 push-ups, it could be a couple, 2 or 3 reps of some upper body exercise, like some bicep curls or something like that. It could be a 30-minute cardio routine that isn't walking, anything like that. Something to encourage myself to do something other than walking, because I've gotten into a rut where that's all I'm doing, and that's fine, but I want to do more. I want to keep up my strength, because one of the things that I was doing when I went to the gym was doing strength training, and I haven't been doing that pretty much at all since it closed and things have just fallen apart, kind of, sort of. So keep holding myself accountable. So if you are struggling in the same way I am, maybe just make out a list of 100 days and have a place to put something down every day to do something for 100 days, whatever that is. For me, it's this physical challenge. I want to do something that is other than walking, that will encourage me to do more stuff physically, to keep myself in shape while we're going through all of this, because who knows when this is going to end, when the gym is going to reopen, and I don't want to turn into a total physical mess. Besides the fact that it's going to help keep me healthier and better able to kind of roll with the punches of whatever is going to be happening, because we have no idea how the future is going to play out. So holding myself accountable with something like this goal sheet is hopefully, and I'm all of 2 days into it. I've finished 2 days, that leaves only 98 more days. So far it's been going pretty well, and I think having something to write down and having something to check off helps me, because that gives me a sense of accomplishment. So some sort of challenge, some sort of goal, some sort of holding yourself accountable. If you're having issues like me, that may help you as well. And for point number 2, you may want to think about how you track your time. If you're a person who previous to this was using a planner, you were doing a to-do list, or you had a work planner, you had to use Google Calendar or something like that. If you were tracking your time, planning out your time, whatever, in a certain way, you may find that right now that's not working the same. And I've actually just watched a couple of videos just recently. One was for a woman who was using a happy planner for all of her work planning, and she would decorate it and everything, but she found that because the way she was working has changed, she's still working, but it's different, that the happy planner just wasn't working for her. It just wasn't making her happy. And so she decided to completely change the kind of planner she was using. She actually went from using her she is still using her happy planner, but I think she's using it for like journaling or something like that. Now she's using a passion planner. So she completely changed her planner, because the way she's working right now with everything that's going on with quarantining and the isolation and all of that, her work has changed to the point where she really felt like she needed to use a different kind of planner. I just watched another video from a different creator who is now using what she'd been using, I think pretty much as a work planner, is now being used for journaling. So she still decorates it and everything, but she's now using it to journal stuff, because again, she's a teacher. So the way she works has completely changed. So inspired by that, I went ahead and bought one of the passion planners just the other day, because they're all on sale, because it's now April. But I figured it would be a good way to try it, and why not spend money right now, while everything's all up in the air. But anyways, that's a totally different issue. But I'm going to try that and see how I like that. And I'm finding that the planner that I'm using is still working fine, but the idea of doing something different, changing up how I am tracking things, and especially as I am making some decisions about other aspects of my life, changing how I'm tracking, whether that's physically changing the thing I'm writing it down in or how I'm doing it, can be really helpful. Because for me, as I mentioned from my previous point, getting stuck in a rut, it's really, really easy for me to get stuck in ruts and just do things by rote, or do things just because that's how I've always done them, but not realize that they're not really working for me anymore. So doing something different, changing up. So if you're having issues with that, you may want to think about totally changing the kind of planner you're using. Right now might be a good time to find a planner online, preferably. Well, it's pretty much the only way you probably can do it, unless you can find one at the grocery store. But a lot of them are on sale right now, since we're now into April. And if it's a 2020 planner, it's 3 months out of date. So a lot of them are going on sale just so they can get rid of them and, get some money from it. So this might be a good time to try something else, something new that can help you track the way things are happening now, because it's really likely that how you're doing things now, even if you're still working, it's really likely that it is very different from how you were doing it before. So changing how you are tracking your time, changing how you're using your planner, or even changing the planner or the physical thing you were using before to something different could be really helpful, and might help you with some of those issues with tracking and productivity and all of that stuff. Because if you're still working, you probably still have to be somewhat productive. And if you're like me and you're not working, you have to be productive because you've got to figure out what to do while we're in this state. Okay, point number three, be willing to totally revamp your goals. And this is something that I did. It was during March when everything broke down. It was right around mid-March, almost exactly in mid-March, that everything just sort of blew apart. I was in a show. We did 1 week of the show. We were supposed to have a second week. The second week got canceled. And that is about the time that everything just started to shut down and grind to a halt. And it felt like our world blew up in a way, but silently, because now everything's really quiet. Now pretty much almost nothing's open other than the places that sell groceries and healthcare. That's about it. That's about all that's happening. Everything else is closed, or it's, restaurants might be doing carry out or delivery, but that's about it. You can't go to the movies. You can't go out to a coffee shop. There's really no place to go and hang out and do stuff because we're not supposed to be around people. So we're all kind of shut in. And so a lot of the goals that you may have made, that I made at the beginning of the year, it's really hard for me to work on those in the way I was planning on working on them. As an example, I am an aspiring actor. I was going to go back into the acting business. I lost my job at the end of last year, my corporate job, and so I was going to just step away from the corporate world and go back to acting, which was fine. And even that I was struggling with, but that's a whole other issue. But now I'm at the point where there are no auditions going on. There is no filming going on. So I'm kind of at loose ends trying to figure out what I want to do. And so a lot of those goals that I made in December, January are not completely null and void, but I've had to change how I approach them. So now I am thinking about goals in a much shorter time frame. And I'm finding that maybe for me, quarterly goals is more realistic than yearly goals, but that's something that certainly as time goes on, I'll discover more about that. But for right now, what I decided to do was for this second quarter, April, May, and June, I was going to just kind of put the goals that I made at the beginning of the year aside, and I made 4 totally brand new ones, wrote them down as separate goals from what I had started with. They are somewhat related to the ones I made at the beginning of the year, but they're really tailored to what's happening right now, and they're simple. One of them is I want to make a short film because I'm exploring becoming a filmmaker. Another one is to complete some acting workbooks that I have that I've been working on sort of off and on throughout the beginning of the year, but hadn't really been devoting enough time to. So I really want to buckle down and complete those because those are mostly about your career, not about being a better actor as far as the theory of acting, but running it as a business, and mindset and things like that. So work on those and complete those. So make that a very specific goal. And another one is to start a blog. I had that, I don't even remember if I had that as a goal at the beginning of the year, but now is a good time to start a blog because a lot of people are online looking at stuff, but also as an actor, having a blog/website is a really good thing to have because then I can have headshots and I can have reels and I can have stuff like that up for people to look at, in addition to doing a blog where I'm talking about various aspects of my life and all that I'm going through as a middle-aged woman, going back into acting and all of that. So I made 4 brand new goals to address what we're going through right now and how it's affecting my life. So if you made some goals and they just aren't working for right now, and it's really likely that they aren't because things have changed so much that a lot of the things you may have been able to work on, you might not be able to work on. Or maybe it's just overwhelming because maybe you're now having to homeschool kids and you're working from home, and maybe your spouse, significant other, whoever is also working from home, and everything has changed. And so now those goals it's just not the right time for them. Make a whole brand new list of goals or things to work on or things to focus on for these next 3 months or so, and then you can reassess. But make them, and what I did for myself was make them very specific to right now. They are things that I can do right now. I can build a blog right now. I can build a website right now. I can't do auditions. I can't, I might be able to reach out to people to try to line up work for whenever this is all over, but that's all still up in the air as far as what time that would be, how long is that going to be before stuff is happening again. But as far as stuff I can work on right now, I wanted to make goals that were really specific to this time so that they would work for me. So that's point number 3. Reassess your goals, and you may need to make just totally new goals, and be willing to do that. Be willing to scrap the stuff you've been working on previous, even if it's just for a season, and just address things that are doable right now, that are workable, that aren't going to overwhelm you, that aren't going to add to your stress level or make life worse. Because right now we're going through, as people keep saying, an unprecedented time, and what was working before may not work for you right now. And point number 4 is be willing to offload anything that is not working. And this is actually going to go into something that I'm going to talk about towards the end of my video about my channel, but that will be coming up in just a few minutes. But be willing to drop stuff off. And that kind of goes along with the goal thing. If some of those goals aren't working, be willing to offload them. If something that you were working on just isn't working right now, offload it. Doesn't mean you can't pick it up later and go back to it, but if it's not working right now, you may need to just say, you know what, this is not working. This is just adding to my stress. This is just more difficult than it needs to be. It's not adding anything to my life, and be willing to push it off, whether that's for a season or for good. Either way, you know, you can be willing to push those things aside that aren't serving you right now, and you can always reassess later, but be willing to do that. I know it's really hard for me because when I start something, I want to keep at it. I want to keep plugging away at it. I don't want to give up on it. And I totally understand that sometimes you do have to plug away at stuff, and sometimes it isn't always the most fun and everything, but I'm talking about things that, you know, really aren't serving your long-term plans or aren't serving you right now. Like I said, what we're in right now is so unprecedented. I'm so tired of that word, but it's true. What we're dealing with, none of us have ever dealt with, as far as this level of change in our life and constriction in our life. And the things we were working on, the things I've been working on, some of them just aren't working for me anymore, and I just need to step away from them, and I need to focus on other things. Doesn't mean I can't go back to those things, but for right now, I need to leave some of that stuff. So I have to be willing to turn away from things, put them off to the side, maybe leave them behind forever, and just say, you know what, this is not where I need to be right now. This is not what I need to be working on, spending my time on, putting my energy towards, either right now or forever. And that's fine. It's okay. Sometimes you need to leave stuff. Sometimes you need to push things off and leave it in the past, and that's okay. And I need to learn to be willing to do that, because the things I'm working on may not work either for right now or maybe for good. Who knows? But be willing to do that, because if you're trying to push away at something that just isn't working, that isn't serving your greater purpose in life, that isn't going to help you with where you're going. We talk about goals taking us where we want to go. You know, if the things you're working on aren't helping you in that way, then you need to be willing to just stop doing them, leave them in the past if necessary. That's something that I struggle with, but that is something that I've had to look at with some of the things I've been doing to make some hard decisions and decide to focus my energy in other places right now. And maybe in the future I can go back to some of those things. Or maybe I'll decide I don't want to for whatever reason. But be willing to do that, because you can burn yourself out, or you can be putting your energy towards something that really isn't useful, that it really isn't serving you. So that is point number 4. And point number 5 is, if everything is going along just fine and everything's still working for you, forget all of the things I have talked about in the rest of this video. Keep doing whatever you're doing. If you do a to-do list that you check off every day and that is still working, then keep doing that. If you have goals that you started at the beginning of the year and they're still working for you, keep doing them. Don't listen to what I say. You know, don't listen to what anybody says. If it's still working for you, keep doing it. Don't change things just because other people change things. Keep doing what you're doing, and it's fine. You do not need to change stuff just because. You don't need to try a new planner just because everybody else is trying the new planner. You don't need to do a different way of tracking your time if the way you're doing it right now works just fine for you. So be willing to keep the things that are working and ignore what everybody else is saying if it's all still working for you. And I mentioned a few minutes ago that about be willing to offload things that aren't working. To that end, I am going to still be putting out the virus diary videos, maybe 1 to 2 a week, just to kind of keep track of things that are happening, just as a video diary for myself, if nothing else. But as far as the other content that I've been doing, I'm going to step away from that for a while. We'll see how long a while is. I'm not sure how long that's going to be, because I know that the quality just isn't where I want it to be. I want to increase my video quality. I want to increase my editing skills. I would like to invest in better equipment, in an actual camera, in some lighting, in, you know, maybe different editing software, who knows. I want to do that, and I want to put in effort that is going to reap rewards for both myself and the people who are watching my videos. And not just the technical stuff, but I also want to work on my structure. I've been through the ringer over the last few days with videos. I filmed 2 videos that are just totally scrapped. They're not going to be released at all, probably, at least in the form that I originally filmed them. I just realized I didn't have good structure. I want to work on the structure of my scripts, basically. There are some people who might be able to talk off the cuff and it just sounds really great. I'm not one of those people. I have to have more planning. And what I've been doing is I kind of feel like I've been behind the 8 ball on my channel. Like, I'm trying to do all this stuff and learn while I'm trying to still put out stuff and keep up with all that and come up with new content and everything. And I don't think it's serving me or my audience. And I just actually, I think it was yesterday, I got an email from Teachable. I have taken some courses from people who use Teachable, and I think I also did like a seminar, webinar type thing with them a few months ago. So of course I'm on their mailing list, and they sent out an email, like I said, I think it was yesterday, and they had some courses that they were offering for free that would help with people. Like, there were some entrepreneurship type stuff and other things like that. But one of them is a video creator course, and it's totally free. And I clicked over and I looked at it and I figured it's free. I should just go ahead and sign up for it. And it's one of those self-paced type things. I can do it at my own pace whenever I feel like it. I have lifetime access to it, and it has all sorts of great information, it looks like, about making better videos. And I thought, well, that's kind of perfect, because that's what I want to work on. I want to work on those technical aspects in addition to things like my script writing and presenting my thoughts in a more cohesive and coherent manner. Because I think sometimes, I noticed this as I was working on one of the videos I was going to be releasing and now won't be, it was just, I felt like what I wanted to say was probably good and valuable stuff. I just didn't have good structure to it. And that's one of the things I want to work on. And in addition to everything else, a couple days ago, I was working on that video, which was fairly long. It was about an hour's worth of material that I had to put into my editing software and work on. And I had gotten it down to about 41, 42 minutes. So I'd cut out a bunch, and I was working away diligently at it. And all of a sudden my computer just went blank. And I was sure that it was dead. My computer, the hard drive, is about 5 years old. The computer itself is even older, but the hard drive was replaced about 5 years ago. So it's probably getting to the end of its life. I can tell that it's moving slower. It's a lot slower to get stuff done. It's kind of chugging along. I can almost hear like the gears turning when things get old and they're just kind of chugging along. Well, that's kind of where it is. And editing software takes up a lot of processing speed and stuff in your computer. And I can tell when I'm working on a video, especially a longer one, it's just hard and it freezes up, and it was doing that, but usually, kind of works itself out. Well, a couple nights ago, it just totally shut down, and I thought I had lost my computer, and I figured, well, there you go. All the stores are closed. I mean, I could order something online, but I'd have to set it up, and I'm not working right now. I'm just, earning money here and there where I can. So I really don't want to put out that money. I do have money because I have savings set aside. Really don't want to be spending that on a computer. And so using my editing software for these long videos and doing a lot of videos is just becoming more and more of an issue, and I don't want it to ruin my computer either right now. I mean, I know probably before the end of the year, I am going to have to invest in a new computer because of all the stuff that I want to do takes a computer. But right now, I just want to preserve the one I have, and the editing software, just using it the way I've been using it, has placed some added strain on it. And so that's part of the reason why I want to step back to. So it's equipment, I'm using my phone, I don't have any lights. I want to get better equipment to make my videos and films and whatever I want to do in the future. And I want to work on my skills, both my technical skills and my writing skills and all of that. So to that end, I figure, right now I just need to step away from it. My audience has grown really slowly, and sometimes that happens with some people. And I knew that going into this, I had no idea what was going to happen, but I kind of figured that things would be a little rough because I'm not young and pretty and all that. Not to say that the only people who develop a good, strong audience on YouTube are young and attractive. They're not. There are people from all walks of life, but I know that part of the reason I haven't grown is because of the quality that I'm putting out, and I want to work on that. And I want to work on that without trying to push myself to do a bunch of stuff. I'm not saying that I'm going to be gone forever and ever. Just saying, and like I said, I'm going to do the virus diaries, 1 to 2 a week, just as a document of this time and how things go and how things are progressing and everything. If nothing else, then for me, for the future. But the other content I'm going to step away from, and I'm going to think about what I want to do. I think I want to change maybe some direction of where I'm going and what I'm talking about. But I'll think about that. I will consider that, and I will work on that while I am taking some time to better my equipment and better my skills and better my technology and everything like that. Just want to let you know that in case any of you, I know I have some people in my life, in my real life, who watch my videos, and just want to let you guys know, and everybody else who's watching this video, who has been watching my material, and if you are a person who's been watching it regularly, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Just know that right now, and planning on coming back at some point. I have every plan to come back with better skills, better technology, and just with better quality overall. That's what I'm working towards. But I feel like I need to step away to allow that to happen so that I'm not pushing myself to make videos while I'm trying to do better. I want to get better and then come back to the videos. So that is where things stand right now. I hope that these 5 tips and tactics are helpful to you. I hope that some of this has been useful to you, may get you thinking about how you might need to change things up to help you through this time, or any time that's difficult, because you know, it's not just times like these that things are difficult. People go through difficult times all the time. But if you have been struggling with anything, I hope some of these tips and tactics have worked for you, because some of them are really working for me right now. Thank you so much for being here. I so much appreciate it. There is a subscribe button down below if you want to subscribe and sort of keep up on what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm going to be releasing the virus diaries because those are pretty simple to do and they're usually pretty short. And to keep up on what I do in the future, if that interests you, I'll be maybe talking more about film and culture, especially where it intersects with being middle-aged and being a middle-aged female, because that is something I'm very interested in, something I want to look into and do more research on before I start making videos about it. So if that sounds good, please feel free to subscribe and tell your friends about this channel if you think they might be interested in it. Friends, foes, anyone like that. And let me know down below if there are any tips, any things that you're doing right now to help you through this time that you think could be helpful for other people, because you never know, at some point somebody could be reading the comments and could find something that you say helpful. I've found that for myself when I read comments on other people's videos. Sometimes you can find some really good information down there, so feel free to do that down below. If this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up, because that really helps and it lets me know that this was a good thing to put out, and I maybe would put more stuff out like this because I know that it's helpful. Again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you take care of yourself wherever you are. Thank you.